Okay, fantastic. Is there any other parts of the, so let's say that you've just run through my details now. What's the, so you know all about me, you know how much I earn, you know how much cash I've got, how much I'm ready to invest. We'll pick it up from there.
Great, then, well, now that I have your financial parameters in the application, it looks like you could qualify to borrow at least $1 million. And if you're buying a co-op where the type of property a co-op is, they actually restrict how much financing you take, it does appear that you have the ability to make the 20% down payment. So I really strongly suggest, since that you've just started looking, that let's get you pre-approved with the bank, so that'll make you a better buyer to the seller.
Okay, right. Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Thank you very much, Melissa. Well, I guess
you're welcome. I'll have my assistant email the application package to you in 5 minutes.
Well, I look forward to receiving that, and thank you. You've been very, very efficient.
Oh, you're welcome. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. A bit of a round of applause for the role play there. Okay, so the next question I've got is, how do you manage your time? Can you run us through a typical day of Melissa Cohn? I know you just said you work very, very hard. So if you could give us some insight into specifically where you spend your time, what you spend your time doing, and also what you spend your time not doing.
Okay. Well, I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is look at my BlackBerry and check the emails and make sure that nothing urgent has occurred in the early hours of the morning, and that no banks have closed their doors, or no guidelines have changed to create further turmoil in my day. When I get to the office, the first thing that I do is pull all of my voicemail messages and try to return my phone calls. At the same time, and I'm very into technology and being online on the computer, I try to return all of my emails, and I try to double task as much as I can, meaning that I'm oftentimes emailing on the phone, trying not to get distracted from each other, and just trying to be efficient. I also will check in on the markets when the bond market opens at 8:30, look at what's going on in the mortgage-backed security market, look at what's going on in the financial markets throughout the day, just to get a sense of, how good or bad my day is going to be rate-wise. I try to, first I return all of my phone calls, I return all of my emails, and then I actually go backwards. Once I've done that, I will then go back to all of the referrals that I've had over the course of the past, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'll follow up with them. I unfortunately don't get to close every deal with the first phone call, and oftentimes a buyer will be slow to get paperwork back to me. So I'll go back to the loans that I have outstanding to make sure that I'm in touch, to find out where they are in the process, and to see if there's anything I can do to help expedite them to get their paperwork to me. Eventually I'll eat lunch, and then once I'm done with that, I just go back to work. I generally spend my entire day at my desk, and spend, I would say, probably 60% of my time originating and dealing with my brokers and helping them with issues. I think that email is an incredible tool, and it enables me to help run my business. I have a very good management team, but there's a lot that I can do from my desk by email in terms of communicating with banks, in terms of communicating with clients, in terms of communicating with my employees, and occasionally my family. I also then will spend a good part of the day working on, banks and bank relationships. It's been a crazy time in New York with a lot of banks making extraordinary changes to their guidelines and banks going out of business. So I spend a lot of time making sure that I work with the banks that we have to make sure that we have good relations and try to improve that which they can offer to me. And I'm also out there looking for new banks. And then, of course, I'm always out there working with my referral sources and working to create new referral sources. So going out, and I meet with developers to talk about doing financing in their new projects. We partner with a number of real estate firms, and I spend a fair amount of time going out to the brokerage firm and speaking to the brokers, doing seminars for the brokers, and really making sure that I'm part of the real estate community all the time. I go to a lot of open houses. I go to far too many broker cocktail parties in their offices drinking bad wine. But my day is really spent focusing on new business and focusing on getting new business.
Okay, fantastic. What I just picked up then was, straight onto the emails straight away, and then you then said, I then follow up with all the clients who, the referrals that have come through in the last, in the last few weeks, and then I have lunch. So that implies to me that you're spending, a good solid morning every day following up on your potential clients.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the most important thing you do is to make sure that the business that you believe that you've gotten comes in the door. Every application that goes out, I keep in a folder in my Outlook, and I can either, I can follow up with someone by email or by telephone, and I'll tend to mix it up because I think that if you communicate exclusively by email, that you lose the personal touch, yet email is much more efficient. So, I'll email, and then the next time perhaps I'll make a phone call. I really try to make sure that I stay connected to my clients.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Now, $1 billion a year, that's in Australia, that could be quite a healthy aggregation business, which with 50 or 100 brokers in it. How do you get the volume of leads to do that? Now, I know you've touched on some of these things, but in particular, you obviously get a lot of referrals, and so I'd like to firstly hear about the referrals, and then secondly, we might move on to your referrals and existing customers first, and then I want to move on to the marketing that you do. So we'll start with the referrals and existing customers.
I've always established a strong relationship with my clients, so I do get a lot of existing clients referring their friends and family to me. My philosophy with my business is that I like to be as service-oriented and work as tightly as I can. So I always try to make sure that the pricing that I give every client is, the best that I can offer. I don't want to have to, be too greedy and have that client make another phone call and say, well, I can get that for 1/8% lower. So I find that I work on a slightly tighter margin than most people would probably like to, but that does two things for me. One, it generally ensures that I get to keep that client in that loan, and it also means that if I've gotten them a better rate than they've gotten somewhere else, that they'll be sure to tell their friends about what I was able to offer, and how I was able to beat the banks. I'm also working, constantly with the real estate brokerage community to help bring more, referral business in on a daily basis. Does that answer that question?
Yep, that's great. I've just got to, do you ask for referrals?
Do I ask for referrals? Of course. What mortgage broker doesn't?
There's a number here who don't, I think. Can I, so you ask your clients for referrals, and obviously you've got referral partners, but existing clients, you ask them for referrals?
Absolutely. I'm not shy.
No, good.
And not only that, I go out and I work with the brokerage community, to speaking to the brokers and telling them, send me your business. I'll get that deal done. And I think that, by virtue of the fact that I'm the #1 broker in the U.S., that, people like to do business with me. And I'm also a known entity, and I think that that helps a lot. So I think that a really important message to send to all of you in Australia is that it's really important to become part of your community. Not only just through the brokerage community, but, through your actual community. I do a lot of philanthropy. I do, I horseback ride competitively. That's sort of something that sets me apart from my competitors. And, I try to become a real person and a person that is known to the community, so that I'm not just, a mortgage broker that, they've heard of the company, but they don't know who I am. I want people to get to know me as a person as much as possible, so they feel comfortable making the referral and coming to me.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm a client. I'd like to do another role play with you, Melissa. I'm big on role plays.
Uh-oh.
I'm a client. You've just completed my loan transaction. I've been happy. Let's have a conversation about, let's say that you've just called me up to congratulate me on the new purchase.
Congratulations, Will.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to have my condominium or whatever you've got me sorted out.
You should come to the U.S. and actually move into it. At any rate, I think it's great that you closed. please let's be in touch. Rates today are slightly higher than they have been in the past, so you can go to my website and sign up for Rate Watch, which is a service that I provide that will actually send you rates on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis so that you know where your rate is relative to what's available in the marketplace. Because if the rates do drop, it'll be worthwhile to refinance, and obviously I'd love to help you.
Great. It sounds like good. Can you put me on that straight away?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, as soon as I leave the studio, that is.
Okay, so that's I guess my repeat business. But what about asking me for referrals of my friends or family? Have you got any specific way of doing that?
Oh, well, then I finished the conversation by saying, it was a pleasure doing business with you. I'd love to be able to help anyone that you know who's looking for a mortgage or considering refinancing. I'm always around. You know that by the way we did business together, that I'm very service-oriented and that I'll get right back to you and to your clients and friends, and I promise you that I won't be an embarrassment and that I will make you look good as the referral source.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Now, with your current, with your closed clients, the ones who've already done business, what's your process? Have you got any special things that you do to keep in touch with those clients? Because you obviously have a huge amount of them come back again and again and again over a long period of time. What is your system for keeping in touch with them?
I will be embarrassed to admit that that's probably where I am most lacking in terms of my own personal marketing. I do all of my applications, online, and I always capture everyone's email addresses. So finally, about a year ago, I've started sending out quarterly emails to all of my past clients, just sort of updating them on the marketplace. I have a marketing department that helps us create e-blasts and e-brochures and little bits of information that we can send out that I'm now finally sending out to my clients. Okay.
So, and is there any personal contact on an ongoing basis, or is it mainly through the newsletter and the like?
It would be impossible for me to personally contact all of my past clients. There are just too many of them, and there are only so many hours in the day. So that is where I'm lacking. But sometimes what I will do is I will say to one of my account executives, here's an opportunity. Why don't you go through all the loans that I closed in 2002, for example, and why don't we send out an e-blast or a mailing to them and see if they're interested in refinancing or they have a friend that wants a mortgage.
Okay, that's excellent. An excellent way to build up the new brokers in your team as well.
Absolutely. And you never know. I mean, communicating is key, and it's really hard to do in our busy day. But getting back to people or sharing, a holiday card, at Christmas time, I do a major e-blast, of a holiday card for me, and I'm always amazed at the responsiveness that I get from it. And by virtue of the fact that I do it by email, it allows me to get back to a lot of people as they respond to me.
Okay, fantastic. So we've sort of covered the referral and repeat business. Now, what about your marketing? I know you've touched on this briefly before, but what are your key marketing pieces of advice? What are the key things that have worked for you marketing-wise?
In terms of marketing, I think that we are unique, at least within my firm, and that we actually have an internal marketing department that works to do two things. One, we work to create marketing pieces that go out to the brokerage community, that go out to our clients, but we also work on marketing plans. Who are we missing? Who are we not getting to? And I work with my brokers and I work with my marketing department to say, where am I, what am I missing? And then I do, the basic traditional marketing. For example, in the New York Times, on their real estate section, I have a Manhattan mortgage calculator on every listing for the tri-state area, which is the New York metropolitan area. And that actually drives about 35% of our web traffic into the company. I also work on doing marketing pieces to the brokerage community.
Just to butt in for 1 second. When you say the New York Times, that's obviously the New York Times website real estate section.
That's correct.
That's right. Okay. Sorry,
I also write. My turn?
Yeah, your turn. Your turn, sorry.
No worries. I then also work on a piece that I write. I try to write it about every 2 weeks that's called Mortgage Matters. When the marketplace started turning about a year ago with the credit crisis, I found that brokers